In this video, we're going to be discussing the future tense in English. Before we start though, let's just spend a few seconds looking at tense. The tense of a verb is determined by when the activity takes place. So tense is about when. Let's put up a quick timeline. Here we have the present, the past, and the future. The three main tenses are the past tense, which is for activities that took place in the past, the present tense, for activities that take place in the present, and the future tense, for activities that will take place in the future. The one we're looking at today, the future tense, is for activities that will take place on this part of the timeline. Let's move our timeline to the top to give ourselves some space. Okay, here we have an activity that will take place in the future, as shown by the red arrow. To describe this activity, we use the following construction: will plus the base form of the verb. Let's look at an example. Martin will paint the fence. Will paint is the future tense. Here we can see will and the base form of the verb to paint. Now, the base form is the version you will find in the dictionary. It's not painting, it's not paints, it's not painted. It's the infinitive form without the word to. Let's look at another example. The Moscow State Circus will perform in Boston next year. Will perform. That's the future tense. What you plant now, you will harvest later. Will harvest. That's the future tense. That's fairly easy so far. But unfortunately, it gets a little bit more difficult. When you use this construction, you are using the simple future tense. I want you to look at this word, simple. That doesn't mean that it's easy. That tells you the aspect of the verb. And that's what we're going to talk about next. There are four aspects: the simple aspect, the continuous aspect, the perfect aspect, and the perfect continuous aspect. These tell us whether the activity is ongoing or completed. An aspect is part of tense, so we can't talk about the future tense without also talking about these aspects. So the first aspect we've covered is the simple aspect. And this construction is the simple future tense. So, the simple future tense is used for an activity that will occur in the future. Let's keep going. Next, we'll look at the future continuous tense. Look at the red line at the top. This is for an ongoing activity in the future. The construction we use is will be plus the present participle. The present participle is the form of the verb that ends ing. Let's look at an example. John will be singing for an hour. Will be singing. That's the future continuous tense. Those who are laughing now will be crying later. Will be crying. Future continuous tense. In September, we will be enjoying all the fruit we planted in March. Will be enjoying. Future continuous tense. So, this construction gives us the future continuous tense. Remember, this is the word that tells us the aspect. The future continuous tense is used for an ongoing activity that will occur in the future. Let's keep going. Next, the future perfect tense. The future perfect tense is for a completed action in the future. Let's look at this. The construction is will have plus the past participle form of the verb. Now, the past participle is a little bit more difficult to form than the present participle because there are various endings. Usually the endings are ed, d, t, or n, but there are others. We have a whole lesson on the website about past participles. Let's look at an example. I will have graduated by July. Will have graduated. That's the future perfect tense. The rain will have stopped before the game starts. Will have stopped. That's the future perfect tense. Jack will have taken the dog for a walk before you get home. Will have taken. Another example of the future perfect tense. Will have plus the past participle form. So this construction gives us the future perfect tense. This word is here to describe the aspect, don't forget. It's worth noting that when you have a sentence in the future perfect tense, there's usually a time phrase that tells you when. So, if we're talking about a completed activity in the future, it makes sense that we say when it's completed. So look here in grey. By July, before the game starts, before you get home. So to summarise, the future perfect tense is used for an activity completed at some point in the future, and that point in the future will likely be described in the sentence. Let's keep going. We're on the last one, the perfect continuous tense. This is for an ongoing activity that will be completed at some time in the future. The construction we use is will have been plus the present participle. Remember, that's just the form of the verb that ends ing. Here is an example. I will have been playing for 2 hours by breakfast. Will have been playing. That's the future perfect continuous tense. If it rains again tomorrow, then it will have been raining for 3 days. Will have been raining. Future perfect continuous tense. Jack will have been working down the mine for 20 years when he retires. Will have been working. The construction will have been plus the present participle gives us the future perfect continuous tense. So, when we use this construction, it's an example of the future perfect continuous tense. Remember, these words are here to tell us what the aspect is. So, much like the future perfect tense, if it's about something being completed at a time, then it makes sense that that time is mentioned in the sentence. And here you can see them in grey. By breakfast, tomorrow, when he retires. But also we're describing an ongoing activity. So it also makes sense that the sentence tells us how long this activity will be going on for. So here we have in blue, for 2 hours, for 3 days, for 20 years. And as you get to become more familiar with the tenses, you will get used to seeing these time phrases. So, the future perfect continuous tense is used for an ongoing activity that will be completed at a specified time in the future, and the sentence will normally tell us that specified time in the future, and it will usually tell us the length of the activity. So we have covered all 4 aspects of the future tense. Bear in mind that these aspects are also in the past tense, giving us 4 tenses there, and in the present tense, giving us 4 tenses there. So in total there are 12 tenses, and that's what we're going to quickly look at. The other thing I'd like to say is that it doesn't have to be a long time in the past. It could be 2 minutes ago, 2 seconds ago. It doesn't matter. If it's before now, then it's the past. Same goes for the future. It doesn't have to be a long time in the future. It can be any amount of time in the future. Okay, let's look at these 12 tenses. Let's clear the screen. So here are our 3 tenses, the past, present and future. And here are our 4 aspects: simple, continuous, perfect and perfect continuous. As we've said, this will give us 12 tenses in total. The ones we've looked at today are the simple future tense, for example, will wash. The future continuous tense, will be washing, for example. The future perfect tense, will have washed, and the future perfect continuous tense, will have been washing. And just for context, here are the 4 in the present tense, and here are the 4 in the past tense. The ones that we've spoken about today are the future tense ones. This has been a quick overview of the future tense. On the website, there is a longer lesson, and there are lessons, tests, and videos for each of the aspects. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out some of our other videos on grammarmonster.com.